Single dad stopped to help a woman in the rain. She ended up changing his family's future. Life on the mining colony was simple, and at times, boring. The planet was remote, far from the bustling cities of Earth. There were no grand celebrations, no bustling markets, just work, day after day. The human man had come to this planet with hopes of earning a decent living, doing what he knew best: manual labor. But nothing exciting ever happened on this quiet colony. It was as if the whole planet was stuck in time. One evening, when he was out on a routine scouting mission, something caught his attention. It was strange, a large figure, looming in the distance, barely visible against the fading light. At first, he thought it might be an animal, one of the native creatures of the planet, but as he got closer, he realized it was something far more extraordinary. A woman. But not like any human woman he had ever seen. She was much taller than anyone he had ever known, her figure towering over him, her body broad and strong. Her skin had an unusual shade, something between purple and a deep blue, glowing faintly under the setting sun. There was an air of power about her, but also a sense of sadness. Her eyes were distant, as if they carried the weight of years of grief. She seemed to be in pain. Her hand rested against her side, and her breathing was shallow. The man approached carefully, unsure of what to do, but his instincts told him to help. When she saw him, her expression softened, but she didn't speak at first. She simply looked at him, studying him with a kind of curiosity that made him uneasy. Breath. He asked if she was okay, though he wasn't sure she'd understand him. But to his surprise, she spoke in perfect, though slightly strained, English. "I need your help," she said. Her voice was deep, almost a growl, but there was a gentle edge to it. "Please, I am hurt." She explained that she had been traveling alone after losing her partner, someone of her own kind, in an attack from rival factions on her planet. The wound she had was deep, but it wasn't life-threatening. Yet, without help, she wouldn't make it much longer. "I'm lost," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I need someone to help me, not just with this wound, but with something more." She paused for a moment, her eyes locking with his. "I need a husband," she said softly, "and children. Strong children. I need your help." The words left the men stunned. A husband? Children? What was she talking about? But before he could ask more, she staggered slightly and fell to her knees. Without thinking, he rushed to her side, trying to help her stand. Round, in despair, she was heavier than she looked, and yet there was a fragile air about her that made him realize how much she was struggling. "Rest," he said. "I'll help you back to the colony."
As they walked together, the strange alien woman continued to explain more about her world. She was from a distant planet where her species was struggling to survive.
Her people, strong and powerful, had begun to lose their strength, their numbers dwindling due to a long period of warfare. The once proud race was now facing extinction, and they were desperate for solutions. Her species had long believed in the importance of family, but their world had been shaped by war and sorrow. She had lost her partner in a battle, and now her people were counting on her to carry on their bloodline. Her kind had been unable to reproduce as they once had. And so, she had come to this remote planet, hoping to find a human to help her. "Do have what we need," she said, almost pleading. "The strength of your people, the human spirit. I need it. Your children will be powerful. Brace. Together, we can rebuild what has been lost." The man didn't know what to think. The idea of becoming a father, of helping someone from another world seemed impossible. But there was something about her, something in the way she spoke, the way she carried herself, that made him feel a pull. She wasn't just asking for help. She was asking for a chance to save her people. As they reached the colony, he helped her into a small shelter where they could treat her wound. But her request lingered in his mind. A husband? Children? He had never imagined his life would take such a strange turn. Yet here he was, standing next to an alien woman with a mission that seemed both impossible and necessary. The man couldn't deny that he felt something stir inside him, something more than just sympathy. There was something about her, something deep and raw, that made him want to help. But could he really agree to this? Could he truly become part of something so extraordinary? Days passed since the man had first met the giant alien widow, and the more he saw of her, the more he felt drawn to her. She was strong, yes, but she also carried a sadness that was hard to ignore. Her eyes, though fierce, would often soften when she spoke of her home planet, of her people, and of her loss. The weight of her mission was clear, but so was the pain of her journey. One evening, after her wound had been treated and she was recovering, she turned to him once again. This time, she didn't seem as fragile as before. Her posture was strong, and the determination in her eyes was clear. She had gathered the courage to speak more of what she needed. "I have thought about this for some time," she said, her voice steady. "I know that you might think my request is strange, but I cannot do this alone." The man stood silently, unsure of how to respond. He had helped her in so many ways, but what she was asking now felt impossible. He was just a simple man, living on a mining colony. What could he offer to someone like her? "I am not asking for pity," she continued, her voice calm. "What I need is something more. My people are dying, and we have no way of bringing new life into the world. You are strong, and your people are resilient. Your genes, your human strength, could help our race survive." The words hung in the air between them. The man felt his heart race as he considered her proposal. It was unlike anything he had ever imagined. But despite the fear and uncertainty, there was a part of him that felt compelled to help. Her eyes, full of pain and hope, made it clear that this wasn't just a request. It was a plea for survival. "I don't know," he said finally, his voice uncertain. "I've never thought about something like this before." The alien woman stepped closer, her massive frame casting a shadow over him. "I know this is difficult," she said softly, "but I cannot do this alone. Your people have what we need, the strength and power to carry on. Please, help us." The man felt a tug in his chest, a feeling that was difficult to ignore. Here was someone who had lost everything, who was desperate to save her people. And somehow, despite how strange this all seemed, he couldn't bring himself to turn away.
"I'll help," he said, his voice firm.
But how? The alien woman smiled, a look of relief washing over her. "Together, we will rebuild. We will be stronger than before." As the man stood there, unsure of what the future held, he knew one thing for certain. This strange, unexpected journey was just beginning. As the days passed, the human man found himself thinking more and more about the alien woman. Their conversations had started off strange and awkward, but now they were beginning to connect on a deeper level. They spoke about their worlds, their lives, and their hopes for the future. There was an honesty between them that he hadn't expected. The alien woman, who had once seemed so distant and intimidating, had become someone he could understand. She wasn't just a powerful being from another world. She was a person, struggling with loss and desperate for a way to save her people. Every day, as she recovered from her injury, he learned more about her. She was strong, yes, but there was a vulnerability in her that she rarely showed anyone. She had been alone for so long, and the weight of responsibility rested heavily on her shoulders. She told him stories of her home planet, where her people once thrived. They had been a proud race with a culture centered around strength and honor. But now, their numbers were dwindling, and they were on the brink of extinction. The idea of her people surviving had become a distant dream. That was why she had come to this planet, looking for someone who could help her continue her line and perhaps even give her people a chance at rebirth. The man listened, fascinated by her words. He could hear the pain in her voice when she spoke of her home. She spoke of the battles her people had fought, the losses they had endured, and the deep fear she felt for the future. But she also spoke of hope. There was a glimmer of it in her eyes, something he hadn't noticed before. She wasn't just asking for help out of desperation. She was asking because she believed there was still a chance. For the first time since their initial meeting, the man felt like he understood. She wasn't asking for a handout, and she wasn't trying to manipulate him. She was simply seeking a way to survive, to preserve what was left of her people. It wasn't about saving her own life. It was about saving her entire species. As they spent more time together, the man began to see the complexities of the situation. At first, he had agreed to help her out of a sense of duty, but now he realized there was something more. He found himself genuinely caring for her. Her strength was admirable, but it was her quiet courage that made him feel connected to her. She wasn't perfect, and neither was he. They both had their flaws, but they were learning to accept them. The alien woman also began to change. Raish. She had started to open up more, sharing her fears and her hopes. She was no longer the distant, almost emotionless figure she had been when they first met. Now, she laughed sometimes and even smiled at the human man's jokes. It wasn't the forced smile of someone trying to be polite. It was the smile of someone who was beginning to trust again. They spent their days working together, sharing meals, and practicing the skills that the man had taught her. She was a quick learner, and her natural strength and agility were apparent as she picked up new techniques. But it wasn't just her physical strength that impressed him. It was her determination, her will to succeed despite the odds. They also worked on building a life together. It wasn't easy, especially considering their differences, but they were willing to try. The man who had once been a simple miner now found himself thinking about a future that included her. It wasn't a future he had ever imagined, but it was one he could see himself in. One evening, as they sat by a small fire, the alien woman turned to him, her eyes glowing softly in the dim light. "Burr, you've been kind to me," she said. "I never expected this." "I thought you would turn away when I told you what I needed, but you stayed." The man looked at her, unsure of what to say. "I'm not sure why I stayed," he admitted. "I guess I just didn't want to leave you alone. But I can see how much this means to you." She nodded, her expression softening. Breath. "It's more than just what I need. It's about what I believe in." "You've given me hope when I thought it was lost." And in that moment, the man realized something. It wasn't just about saving her people anymore. It was about something bigger, about the two of them, together. They were stronger together than they had ever been apart. Breath. As the days turned into weeks, the human man began to feel a sense of unease. The bond between him and the alien woman had grown, but with it came a flood of doubts. He had agreed to help her, to become part of something bigger than himself. But now he wasn't sure what he was truly getting into. It wasn't that he regretted his decision, it was just that the reality of it was starting to settle in. He had spent his life on Earth, in a small world he understood. Now he was being asked to step into a completely new world, one full of danger, uncertainty, and responsibility. He was being asked to help save an entire species, and the weight of that was starting to feel overwhelming. One evening, as they sat together, the man found himself staring into the fire. The alien woman, sensing his unease, sat beside him, her large frame casting a shadow over him. "What is it?" she asked softly. He sighed, unsure of how to put his thoughts into words. "I've been thinking a lot lately," he said. "I'm not sure I'm ready for this. I don't know if I can live up to what you need." Breaths. "I'm just a regular guy. I don't have the strength to carry the weight of an entire people on my shoulders." The alien woman was silent for a moment, then spoke in a voice filled with understanding. "I never asked you to carry it alone. We carry it together." Her words made him pause. He had been so focused on the responsibility that he had forgotten the one thing that made this possible. They were in this together. He wasn't alone. She wasn't asking him to do everything. She was asking him to share the burden with her. "I know this is hard," she continued, "but we are stronger when we share our burdens." "You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and for the first time he understood what she was saying. This wasn't about being a savior. This was about two people coming together to build something stronger than they could have on their own. The man smiled, a small, uncertain smile. "I guess I can do that." And in that moment, he realized that his doubts weren't about whether he could help her. They were about whether he was worthy of being part of something so important. But now he knew that it wasn't about being worthy. It was about trying, about giving what he could and trusting that together they could make a difference. As the fire crackled between them, the man felt a sense of peace settle over him. They were not just partners in a mission. They were partners in life, and whatever came next, he was ready to face it with her by his side. The days grew warmer as the human man and the alien woman continued to spend more time together. Their bond had deepened over the weeks, and the uncertainty that had once filled the man's heart had started to fade. It wasn't just about the mission anymore. It was about them, the shared life they were building. They had become more than just two people from different worlds. They had become partners in a way that neither had anticipated. Each day the man found himself growing more comfortable with the idea of what they were creating. They worked side by side, tending to the small shelter they had made for themselves. It wasn't much, just a simple place to rest and plan, but it was theirs, built together. The more time they spent working and talking, the more the man realized how much he had come to care for her. There was something about her resilience, her strength, and her quiet wisdom that drew him in. She had faced so much, yet still, she never gave up. It made him want to do everything he could to help her. But beyond that, there was a sense of peace in simply being with her. Even in silence, the two of them felt comfortable. It wasn't always about grand gestures or exciting moments. It was about the little things, the way she smiled when he shared a joke, the way they both felt content just sitting by the fire, watching the stars. The alien woman had begun to settle into the rhythm of this new life. She was learning to let go of some of the burdens she had carried alone for so long. Though her mission still weighed heavily on her heart, she now understood that she didn't have to face it alone. She had the man by her side, and together they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. One evening as they sat outside under the stars, The woman turned to the man, her expression serious yet filled with a kind of hope. I have been thinking about the future, she said, her voice low. When I first came here, I thought that I was doing this for my people, for survival. I thought that I could do this alone. But now, I see that it's not just about survival. It's about more than that. It's about building something new. The man looked at her, his heart heavy with understanding. We're building something new together, he said softly, but she nodded, her eyes thoughtful.
Yes.
And it's not just about the children or the legacy of my people. It's about the future we can create together. A future where we don't just survive, we live. We find happiness, even in the midst of all the struggles. Her words struck him deeply. It was true. At first, their connection had been about necessity. She needed help to save her people, and he had agreed to help. But now he realized that it was about more than just survival. It was about the life they could create for themselves. It wasn't just about the children they might have or the legacy of her people. It was about the family they were becoming. For the first time, the man allowed himself to imagine a future beyond the uncertainty of their current situation. He could see a future where they both grew old together, where they faced challenges but also found joy in the small things. The idea of family, of creating something meaningful with her, seemed less impossible now. It felt right. As they sat together watching the stars flicker above, the alien woman turned to him with a small, knowing smile.
I used to think that I had to carry everything on my own, she said softly.
But now I know that we are stronger together. The man smiled back, a warmth spreading in his chest. We are, he agreed. They both sat in silence for a moment, simply taking in the quiet night around them. It was a peaceful moment, a rare moment of calm, and for the first time in a long time, the man felt at peace with his decision. The future was still uncertain, and there were challenges ahead. They both knew that. There were still questions about her people, about the mission, and about the road they would have to walk together. But they also knew that no matter what came next, they would face it side by side. The next day, they began preparing for the future. They worked together to gather resources, to strengthen their shelter, and to plan for what lay ahead. The man found himself more focused and more determined than he had ever been before. He wasn't just working for himself anymore. He was working for the future they would build together. As they moved forward, their connection grew even stronger. Breaths. They didn't have all the answers, but they had each other. And that was enough. It was more than enough. The alien woman had come to this planet with a mission, a desperate hope to save her people. She had asked for help, not knowing what to expect. But in the end, it wasn't just about saving her people. It was about finding a partner, a companion who could walk beside her, someone to share the journey with. For the man, this was a new beginning. He had come to this planet looking for a simple life, but what he had found was something far greater. He had found a purpose, a family, and a future he had never imagined. Together they were building something that was more than just survival. It was a life, one that was full of possibilities, full of hope, and full of love. And as they looked toward the future, they both knew one thing for certain. No matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. They had each other, and that was the greatest gift of all.